Where are we?
What's going on?
He plays the flute, but why is he naked?
Just a compilation, it is. Installation. Appa Hotel. Well, according to the hotel.
Girl, can you tell me how to get to the reception?
I think I'm lost. And who is the extreme for electrophoresis? And I am an official. And where is the nearest stop here? Who's swimming here? In some kind of pool, there has never been one. We want to build an apartment hotel there. Then I really like this business. A year and a half or 2 years will pass there, and I will invite you, and you will look at this beauty that will be there. It has been not 1.5, not 2, but almost 3.5 years. It would seem, but it's time to pack your bags and get ready for vacation. But here's the situation. There is no apartment hotel. Not in search engines, not on websites, not in brochures and brochures. Journalists were not brought here, contrary to Rothenberg's promises. And they showed me the beauty. It looks as if there is simply no hotel. Has Rothenberg deceived us all? I don't believe it.
In a sense, he didn't cheat. The construction is really over. The bare, stripped walls that were shown to us on TV are now shining with a brand new renovation. Marble floors are polished, furniture is arranged, exquisite decor and finishing is ready. Only this is how it was Putin's palace, and it remains. And today, we will not only prove it, but also invite you to a unique excursion, an excursion that no one has been on before. Well, maybe, except Putin himself. We have almost 4 hours of video at our disposal from inside every room of Putin's palace, from inside the country's most secret and most guarded facility. Bedrooms, offices with government communications and gyms and cryosaunas, and even a home chapel, where we will assess the real degree of his madness and see that Putin prays for himself. Today, we will literally break into Putin's home and show you who he really is. A crazed old dictator who, even during the war unleashed by himself, cannot stop and continues to build a palace in himself. No more 3D visualizations, no more graphics and architectural sketches, no more speculation, just the facts. Only real videos, real shots taken by our brave agent inside Putin's palace, where he walked through every room with a hidden camera. Let's go. Welcome to Proskovievka, the most important exclusive resort on the Black Sea. We begin our unique walk here. This is the alley that leads to the main house. Here, as you can see for yourself, right now there is a competition for placing the maximum number of statues per square meter. Art can't be too much, as Vladimir Putin tells us. Give a half-naked woman a few. Naked, even better. Muses, goddesses, elegant ladies, someone with fruit, someone with children, and even a male flautist, for some reason, completely naked. And now, in the distance, we finally see him, and we understand, we're here, the recognizable facade, the familiar giant marble columns, and, as 3 years ago, the workers are swarming. This is Putin's palace.
I know you can't wait to go inside. We will do it very soon, I promise. But bear with me a little, I have something to tell you. First of all, what is going on at all? Where did we get this footage from? I explain. A man walks around the palace with a hidden camera. Walks uncontrollably, goes where he wants, but the camera, of course, has to be hidden. Hence the shaking and fuzzy shots. But we will see everything that is needed with you perfectly. Secondly, this is what I have in my hands. These are the new floor plans of Putin's palace, which the journalists of the Project Edition managed to get and who kindly shared them with us. Today they also have an investigation coming out, be sure to watch it. On these plans, we see the colossal changes that the palace has undergone. However, they concern only the names of the premises. All the bedrooms were renamed apartments, The music room and reading room were renamed the lobby. The dining room has now become a restaurant. But in fact, architecturally, from the point of view of the layout of the premises for their purpose, nothing has changed significantly at all. Since these plans were never supposed to see the light of day, the owners, I must admit, did not bother. For example, let's take apartment number 12, which are marked on the new plans where the security room used to be located. We are invited to believe that this is a residential hotel room and that visitors to one of the most expensive hotels in the world will stay here. In the first room, we see two almost closely standing single beds. There is a food reception room next to it with a cooler, a microwave, and a table designed for 8 people for some reason. There is also a table with 3 landlines. But even more questions are raised by this room of apartment number 12. It has a folding sofa, 1 workplace, a printer, and a giant 3-meter-wide desk for work. There are 10 phones, 2 computers, a giant remote control of unknown purpose, and a control panel for fountains. And it's all passed off as a hotel room. Let's continue our tour. In the end, it's all built on the money stolen from us. So let's take jobs from builders.
As a matter of urgency, we are rushing to where, I know, all of you dream of going, the legendary Aqua Disco.
Aqua Disco, equate.
Many wondered what she looked like. The daredevils made an assumption, but firsthand in life, we see Putin's favorite water fun, ready-made for the first time. The fountain in the center is not working yet, but the bowl of the Aqua Discoteca is already filled with water. I admit, we are impressed with the size. From the air, it turned out to be more of an outdoor jacuzzi. Up close, it is clear that the entire lake cooperative can be seated here in full. Behind you can see the bar, which, apparently, makes this place a disco. The equipment is installed. Everyone is fully ready for parties.
There, not far from the Aqua Disco, there is one of the entrances to the palace. We unceremoniously follow there. Although, of course, no one invited us, and we find ourselves in the pool. The riot of stucco, bas-reliefs, crazy crystal chandeliers, everything here is in the style of the owner. This room is a fida bar. Here you can order a smoothie or an oxygen cocktail. There are sofas and sunbeds along the pool, and then something like spazins with water treatments. Vladimir Putin likes to swim in about 10 different ways. First, of course, the jacuzzi. It is filled with water, and I hope it is already warm. Further behind the glass door, there is a table for taking a shower lying down. This is called a Vichy shower. In front of it, there is a standing circular shower, in which water jets beat you from all sides. In the next room, there are 3 baths for underwater massage, and even further away, there is a remote control. That looks as if you can control a spaceship from it. But it's just a charcoal shower. Vladimir Putin stands up to this wall, while the EFSO employees are hosing him down. There are contrasting fonts in the same room. Here they are directly highlighted. Blue is cold, and orange is hot, and you will agree that there is something a little sinister in it. Putin has them in all residences and in all yachts. We've told you about them 100 times. Then all sorts of souls, pay attention, all the equipment is American. In the USA, of course, our enemies are ideological opponents and a rotten, spiritless place. But this is really not a reason to abandon their technology. I have to show you another therapeutic shower. Please forgive me, you probably won't be ready for this, but as they say, you can't throw the words out of the song. This thing, hidden behind an opaque door, it's called an ascending shower. You sit down on the toilet seat, and then a jet of water under pressure of 1 or 2 atmospheres. It does, for God's sake, its job. In old age, they say, it is very useful. I ask you to treat this with understanding. Of course, we won't find anything more interesting on this floor, but let's look around anyway. Here is an Oriental-style massage room. Here is another massage room. It may seem unremarkable, but even one unfortunate chair costs almost 200,000 rubles here. But this room is a hammam. It is decorated with marble, and so there is nothing more interesting. And here's another steam room, again with Oriental motifs. Golden mosaics and a choice of a pair of 4 flavors are present. There is also a unit located here, the sudden breakdown of which millions of people dream of. This is a cryo sauna. It doesn't warm you, it freezes you on the contrary. The temperature minus 100 degrees promotes rejuvenation of the body. So in a sense, Vladimir Putin really spends time in the refrigerator. There is also a window to peek at whether the national leader has died. Why is it so cold?
Directly from the spa area on the ground floor, we go up the stairs to the main, first floor. And here we have a choice, which of Putin's living rooms we want to see first. If you go to the left, you will get into the music room, to the right, into the reading room. For conspiracy, the premises were renamed Lobby Number 1 and Lobby Number 2, but we reassigned them better, Hall of Megalomania and Hall of Military Fantasies. Let's start with what used to be more readable. I will specially show you how it looked before, because a lot has changed, and in a very characteristic way. Previously, there was a kingdom of golden eagles and romantic frescoes, some very neutral subjects, landscapes, hunting. Now soulless Italian motives have been changed to what Vladimir Putin really likes. This picture is called The Battle for Bagration's Flash. It depicts one of the main events of the Battle of Borodino. There's another one hanging to her right. This is a battle between Russian and Persian troops near Elizavetpol 1826 year. There are two more paintings on the other wall. The first depicts the Battle of Prizren-Kamish, and the second is dedicated to the defeat of Khazaria by Sviatoslav. On the third wall, there are three more paintings. On the left, there is an ice battle. For some reason, the defeat of Khazaria again, but the picture is mirrored. Apparently they decided that the old grandfather would not notice the trick. And in the center is the largest. It is called, Who with a Sword Will Come to Us from the Sword and Perish. It depicts Alexander Nevsky. The original painting hangs in the Grand Kremlin Palace. Pay more attention to this gaping void on the right. In the renderings, we see whose portrait they plan to hang there. Portrait of Marshal Zhukov. A lot has changed, but something with us, of course, will remain forever. Eagles. No longer golden, but still very recognizable. Now let's take another look around. Thanks to the publication of the project, who have an estimate for furniture in this room, we learned that these two sofas cost 900,000 rubles each. The buffet behind them is 1,100,000. This luxurious table cost almost 2 million, and each chair costs 220,000 rubles. And there are 10 of them here. But sofas, cupboards, tables and chairs for 1 million rubles pale in comparison with this French chandelier. It is made of golden red crystal and weighs 336 kilograms. Its cost, attention, 50 million rubles. The same amount was allocated, for example, for the repair of all courtyards in Kaluga and the overhaul of Kamchatka hospitals. There are two such chandeliers in this room. In other words, 100 million rubles were spent only on chandeliers in one of the hundreds of rooms of Putin's palace.
Let's move to the next room. This is a former musical living room, the real name of which is now the Sea Hall. It accidentally slipped into the documents. The situation with the paintings here is similar. Only they depict not the mainland battles and prominent military leaders in the history of Russia, but paintings with a maritime theme. Admiral Nakimev and Fyodor Ushakov are admiring Putin from the walls, right above the 3.5-meter high doors. And a picture of Ivazovsky's view of the seaside town hangs between them. On the other wall, there are busts of some women. Unfortunately, it is impossible to see them. But perhaps they took part in important naval battles, for example, the Battle of Two Yachts at the palace in Praskovayevka. And Admiral Krusenstern is looking at everyone from the wall opposite. There will be 3 stand-up tables for 420,000 rubles each, 2 sofas for almost 1 million, 6 chairs for 300,000, but alas, we cannot find the cost of the rest of the furniture. It is made for Putin by individual order. And the most expensive thing, of course, is the chandeliers again. They cost around 50 million rubles apiece. We state Putin's complete and final obsession with his own greatness. He naturally sits and sees himself as the successor of Ushakov and Nakimev, the new Alexander Nevsky under the chandeliers. For 200 million rubles. And we move on to the office. Another throw-in, fake. I don't know anything about that, anyway.
Looking at this room, it's especially funny to remember that they are trying to tell us that this is not Putin's palace about a hotel. And this room, then what, excuse me, the office of the metrodotal with an area of 130 square meters. It is made in dark wood. There is a marble fireplace, empty bookcases, and golden chandeliers. The furniture, judging by the inscriptions, is allegedly made in Serbia, but I have no doubt that it is all Italian, as Putin likes, and it was imported through Serbia to circumvent sanctions. Let's get closer to Putin's workplace. The layout is exactly the same as in his office in the Kremlin. At the head of the table is the place of the chief, and in front of him, in the place is 4 speakers. According to the new plan, a computer and special communications phones should be located on this table, just like in the Kremlin office, an integral part of any apartment hotel. Agree?
Hey, Anton.
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Why don't you answer? This is a well-mannered person. Well, now it's time to take you to the most secret place of this palace. If the previous premises seem to hint to us that Vladimir Putin has gone mad, then this will put a final and irrevocable end to the question. We go to the former hall of gaming machines, which have been converted into a chapel. Here Vladimir Putin is talking to God. The room, you will agree, is quite oppressive. The marble floor with a patterned, dark wallpaper. The walls around the perimeter of the room are decorated with decorative metal diarrhea, with some not very orthodox-looking crosses. In the center of the room, a lectern is such a stand for an icon or for a book. To the right behind, it is a huge gilded floor candlestick. But the main thing is, of course, the iconostasis. It is very monumental. The icons here stand in full height. In the center, there is a recognizable image of Christ. On the right hand of him is the Virgin, and on the left. There is not even a need to guess, and so everything is written. This is the Holy Prince Vladimir. The place for the icon was not chosen by chance. On the left hand of Christ is usually placed the one after whom the chapel was named. In other words, this is the chapel of Saint Prince Vladimir. There is no doubt that Putin does not just associate himself with Prince Vladimir, but already considers himself his reincarnation. Or reincarnation. He organizes commemorative events in honor of the prince. He calls submarines by his name. The Presidential Foundation allocates tens of millions of rubles for an ethno-opera about Prince Vladimir, with a shaman singer in the title role. And Putin even personally unveiled a huge 17-meter monument to the prince right in front of the Kremlin. Today we are honoring the hero of the occasion himself, equal to the apostles Prince Vladimir. Russian collector of lands, wars, creator, educator, defender from external enemies, founder of the Russian state. And almost the entire Russian nation, as soon as Putin did not call him. They are absolutely not shy anymore. Patriarch Kirill, on behalf of the Rock, says that yes, there are no such coincidences. Vladimir Vladimirovich, but definitely a new red sun. Remembering Grand Duke Vladimir, we are simultaneously remembering and praying for our president, Vladimir Vladimirovich Putin, who bears the name of this prince. I think there are no accidents. This wooden cabinet is needed for sacred utensils, wine cups and books. And in front of the cabinet there is, excuse me, a throne. This is called stasidia. It is possible to sit and stand on it during long services. In ancient Russian temples, such were put up for the tsars, they were called the royal place. Let's just pause and imagine. Vladimir Putin is like the democratically elected president he pretends to be. A hired civil servant, an official. He built himself a crazy palace for 100 billion rubles and sits there in a dark room, on a throne, and listens to prayers, admiring the icon, as he thinks of himself.
I know you can't wait to go upstairs and see the royal boudoirs. Well, on this floor, we have something left to surprise you. I'm sure you remember the so-called hookah bar, and in fact the striptease hall in the 6th, which we found at Putin's house last time. Propagandists then especially strenuously showed this particular place. Look, there are bare walls, workers' jackets. There is no stripushnik here.
Look, obviously, workwear for strippers.
Well, this room is now called the lounge area. In fact, nothing has changed for the purpose. They only replaced the cold parquet with carpet, but kept the arches around the perimeter, and the semicircular sofas also in place. But whether the stage and the famous pole left, alas, is not clear. This part of the room, unfortunately, is hidden from our eyes. The theater has also been significantly transformed. This is what he looked like before, and here's how it is now. A huge stage, you can put on a play here, even play a concert, but you can watch all this from luxurious lies. However, the specifics are that 9 or 10 viewers will fit into these spoons, no more.
And this gym will accommodate 20 exercise machines right in the palace interiors with stucco molding and crystal chandeliers. So far, as you can see, they have not been unpacked, but this is how it will look according to the architectural plans. We can calculate the price of all the equipment right now because we have a full estimate. This ellipse costs 1,623,000 rubles. This exercise bike costs 1,400,000. And such a complex device as a dumbbell stand cost another $250,000. The total cost of equipment in Putin's rocking chair is more than 13 million rubles. All simulators are Italian, and only one American, the company Train. Such Putin puts himself in gyms on a yacht and in an armored train. On the right side of the video, we notice a huge mirror and, to our surprise, also a ballet machine. Soon we will see Vladimir Vladimirovich on the stage of the Bolshoi Theater, no other way.
Well, shall we go upstairs? We move along the corridor of the first floor. On the right is the entrance to the courtyard. Next to it is a guard post. As you can see, a person is on the alert. No fly with a camera will fly by. We go up the main staircase. There's an elevator here, but we'd rather walk. At the time of the shooting, it is still being renovated, but we can still get a good look at everything. And here's the second security post. We, like nimble ninjas, slipped by unnoticed. Well, upstairs, there are corridors, endless, almost like in horror movies, dozens of doors, and behind them a bedroom. We will definitely get into them again, but for now we're in some kind of lobby. A huge statue that apparently did not fit in the alley on the street. Sofa, TV on the bedside table, for more than 2 million rubles. It is unclear for whom the photo frames are arranged, because Putin does not recognize any of his relatives. Well, maybe the portraits of Sechin or Shoigu will be inserted into them. Busts stand on pedestals near the window. Well, at the exit, we notice another giant statue. A lady with either a dog or a lamb at her feet. There are 11 bedrooms on this floor. 4 huge, almost 300 squares. This is the master's. The others are smaller, designed for simpler people. And now to the most interesting rooms. The master apartment.
The work there is not easy, to put it mildly.
All Putin's residences and even yachts are arranged in the same way. The bedrooms are always separate. One for him, the other for his life partner. This palace is no exception. And Alina Kabayeva, well, if nothing has changed, has her own apartments. Here they are. This is the first living room where you can enter directly from the corridor. There is a sofa, an armchair, a TV, and through this room, you can enter the bedroom. Here, too, all the furniture is in place, and it is arranged in strict accordance with the plans of the premises that the project shared with us. Here is such a nice chair you can buy for just 850,000 rubles. And we found a very similar chest of drawers for 2,600,000. There is a bed on the left. Pay attention to the high-tech mechanisms, which allows you to hide the TV under the bed. And when necessary, it goes out on a bracket. There are several other rooms behind that door. A large living room, a snow-white bath with a wardrobe. The total area of the royal chambers is 275 square meters.
Putin's bedroom is the same size. We are heading towards it. Welcome to the Holy of Holies, the royal bedchamber. A private and terribly guarded room, which we managed to successfully get into for the umpteenth time. The first living room. There's a huge mirror and a table for 6 guests. We found the same one, but in a slightly different color, for 2 million rubles. Football is shown on TV, and next to it we see giant busts, which, as it turned out, Vladimir Putin has a passion for. And from the first living room, we already directly get into the bedroom. Some furniture here is still covered with film, so as not to get dusty, but all the decor is already in place. Even the flowers are arranged there. The eye immediately falls on a pretty chest of drawers. It costs almost 4 million rubles, as well as a 2-bedroom apartment in Voronezh approximately. We also found a luxurious 4-poster bed without difficulty. We paid almost 6 million rubles for it. It's like payments for 2 Belgorod residents who died from shelling. The most expensive things are usually stored on the bedside table. Putin has a bronze figure of a bear there. We have a good shot of him separately, and, in my opinion, he is very similar to the branded bear of United Russia. Even in his sleep, Putin thinks about politics, but in his place, I would still keep the bronze statuette away from the bed.
Next stop, a secret boudoir or second living room, also known as a relaxation room. The entrance is right near the head of the bed. Outsiders are not allowed here, but they will make an exception for us. Immediately we see a huge chest of drawers. It costs 2.5 million rubles, but on the contrary, a very deep sofa, piled with pillows, on which Vladimir Putin can climb with legs. Now we go to the bathroom. Here we are greeted by statues, and a round jacuzzi with a huge mosaic panel above it. Well, at least it's not the Battle of Borodino. Let's look in the toilet. Here, in front of the toilet, for some reason, there is a pope for 300,000 rubles. Well, probably for the adjutant. We go further and come to the shower room with another of the same pope for 300,000 and an even more impressive mosaic.
By the way, pay attention to how Vladimir Putin loves television. And there is a TV in the bathroom, and in the bedroom, and in one living room, and in the other. But apparently Putin can't live a minute without the releases of Ekaterina Andreeva. They even invent some special mechanisms for him. We can even see for ourselves how it works. Why not? I clicked, and an urgent news release on the first channel leaves. I can just imagine how Putin will now be sitting in his living room, fidgeting uncomfortably, looking at the remote control, at the TV, and remembering us. But what can you do? An apartment hotel is still a public place. Our tour of Putin's palace is still not over, but I am sure that even now, after looking at all this, many of you are perplexed. How is anything even possible? Who pays for it? How does it all contain? This is no longer just some kind of dacha. It is a dwarf state with a huge infrastructure, created specifically for the recreation of one person. For example, the most interesting document is the Declaration of Working Conditions. It was filed in 2021 year on behalf of LLC Complex, that is, by the legal entity for which the palace is decorated. Each company submits such a report annually. This is a routine bureaucratic procedure. But in fact, it's just a list of positions that exist in the company. In our case, it is not even complete, but it includes more than 250 positions. These are people who are constantly working and simply engaged in servicing Putin's palace, maintaining order there. Who just isn't there? 15 room cleaners, 13 territory cleaning specialists, 27 forestry and gardening workers, washing machine operators, stolers, locksmiths, car washers, 12 maids. And with such a company, I don't want to leave, I understand. And my favorite is a herpetologist. You probably don't even know who he is, and this, by the way, is a very important scientist for Putin. A naturalist scientist. Herpetologists specialize in the study of reptiles and amphibians. They study the behavior of snakes, lizards, turtles, frogs, and diagnose and treat their diseases. Usually such specialists work in terrariums and zoos, but here, let's all agree, hiring such a person is fully justified. A specialist in toads and vipers in Putin's palace is definitely necessary. The construction and maintenance of the palace is still financed by state-owned companies under the guise of providing non-existent services. The Transneft service company spends 25 million rubles a month on renting certain non-residential premises. And another structure of Transneft, the Transneft terminal, pays the palace another 30 million for rent and services that are not actually provided. For this money, Transneft could rent a building with an area of 10,000 square meters on Verskaya Street, but 660 million rubles a year are simply withdrawn from the state-owned company, which is headed by Putin's friend and KGB colleague Nikolai Tokarev. They are brought out for the needs of the palace. These actions cause the same, at least, reputational damage.
In the investigation about the palace 3 years ago, we talked about a very unusual building, an underground hockey complex.
Really, why do we need a palace where you can't play hockey? Interestingly, we are seeing the underground hockey complex for the first time. The bunker style of the owner is recognized.
At that time, we didn't know anything about him. There was only a satellite image showing the outline of a hockey box. Well, it's time to see what's inside. Now we have plans for this underground building, or rather a bunker, and some documentation. Vladimir Putin's personal involvement is already visible in the list of requirements for the designers of the complex. They are required to do everything beautifully and hang coats of arms on the sides of the hockey field. We are finally opening plans. Everything is very solid here.
In the upper part, there are places for fine players. An American ice care machine is stored on the right. It costs 10 million rubles. At the bottom, we see a bar, flanked by stands for players. On the left side of this floor, there is a VIP area with a doctor's office, as well as a Russian bath, massage and cosmetology rooms, and a hairdresser. In general, there is everything to preen up after a hockey match. Oh, brilliant! There is an elevator next to the barber shop, a comment to which will simply be superfluous. It is marked as a first-person elevator, and it leads to the second floor, in an even more luxurious part of the building. Exiting this elevator, Putin walks down a long corridor straight to the slot machine area. Here she is, dear, where she moved from the palace. Then there is a box for as many as 6 spectators, as well as a buffet table and a buffet area for the same 6 people. We believe that this is generally the only hockey complex in the world where there are many times fewer seats for spectators than there are seats for players. In the back room, there is a restaurant for 16 people. It's just amazing, of course, that a super professional, super modern hockey complex was built for Putin, the opening of which would be, well, just a holiday in any Russian city. And he only needs it so that a couple of times a year security guards dressed in hockey uniforms fall in front of him absurdly, and elderly Soviet champions absurdly succumb to him. Well, it's just a disgrace. In addition to the well-known hockey, Putin has another hobby, very non-public. His success in this field is not covered on TV. It is not written about him in the official biography. It turns out that Putin loves shooting, and there is even a private shooting gallery in the palace. Initially, they wanted to place an underground shooting gallery along the helipads next to the underground hockey complex. But then they changed their mind and placed it here near the water. This giant strip is a shooting range. According to the documentation, the length of the structure is 213 meters, and the width is 6 meters. There are 3 firing lines in it and, quote, lifting and falling target installations are installed. Putin can stick portraits of his worst enemies on them. In the far part of the shooting range, there is a bullet catcher of the 6th class of armor protection. This means that here you can shoot from a large-caliber sniper rifle OS-96, which is also in service with the Federal Security Service. Separately, alas, the need to exclude the reverse ricochet of a bullet is prescribed. So it is unlikely that something will fly into Vladimir Putin there.
And another important part. After this video, some may say, well, what is your proof? Maybe it's an apartment hotel after all. You can't know for sure. Or even say that it's all fiction and cartoons. We will definitely hear something like this, at least from propagandists and other people on the Kremlin's payroll. So let's go point by point. The first one, if this is a hotel, then why is there not a single word about it anywhere? For a year after the construction is completed, Rotenberg clearly says that this is a business. It is an attractive hotel complex, unique. It will be possible to come here in 2023 year.
A year and a half or 2 years will pass there, and I will invite you, and you will look at this beauty.
So why is it impossible to get here in 2024? Where is the advertisement? Where is the brochure? Where is the website? Why is there not a single photo of this hotel? The journalist, to whom Rotenberg offered a discount, never went to this unique object. It turns out...
Second, architecture and layout of premises. Why does the apart hotel have one single room for all guests, but a very luxurious office, with a table exactly the same as in every Putin's office? Why are there the same special communication phones as in Putin's office? What can be discussed at all through these secure government communication channels? Order shirt ironing and breakfast in bed. And where is the reception and access system in this hotel? There is none of this. all the rooms are just wide open. Or where have you ever seen a hotel with an underground hockey complex and an elevator for the first person? Who is it all for? And why should the guests of the apart hotel pray in the home chapel to the Holy Prince Vladimir?
Third, here is a document in my hands. This is one of the contracts that are signed with everyone who works in the palace. Reading, confidentiality, and non-disclosure agreement. It states that nothing can be said about this place, about this construction site at all. You cannot disclose the name of the object. It is impossible to say where it is located, who the owner is. You can't talk about the purpose of the object. That is, as if it is impossible to even say that this is an apartment hotel. Contractors are not allowed, attention, to transmit information to each other through open telephone, telegraph and fax communication channels, as well as using the internet. For violation of any of these points, the fine is 1 million rubles. Why do contractors building a public place need these crazy rules? Information and photos of real hotels are posted on the internet. Hotels pay for advertising themselves, and so that people can see them. They are hiding and are not suing for any information about them.
Fourth, why does the state-owned company Transneft transfer 660 million rubles a year under fictitious pretexts? For the construction of an ordinary hotel. This is the oligarch Rotenberg, you say. Why does Transneft pay him? It doesn't make any sense at all, because this is a so-called hotel for 100 billion rubles, but in fact, it is certainly much more, and with chandeliers for 50 million, it will never pay off in life. Even if each of the 11 rooms is rented for 500,000 rubles a day, every day of the year without a break, it will only pay off in 50 years, and without taking into account maintenance costs, salaries, and so on. And this is hundreds of millions of rubles a year.
And the fifth, the journalists of the project publication, who shared with us the floor plans of the apartment hotel, managed to find and talk to a person directly involved in the design of this object, who confirmed on record that this is not a hotel, this is a palace, a private palace designed for one particular person.
There were phrases like a pill, it doesn't matter, all the higher-ups of our country, the commander-in-chief.
And everything that we told 3 years ago, and the no-fly zone, and the buffer forests recorded on the FS, but in order to protect the palace from outsiders, and forbid even swimming to the Cape, and to the end, all of this has not gone away, and continues to exist, while allegedly the Rotenberg apart hotel is located here. Who do you think we are? Who is it designed for at all? Such outright lies. We have another video from Putin's Palace that we really wanted to show you at the end. No, there will no longer be golden interiors, chandeliers for 50 million, there are no antique statues, and canvases with great generals, but there is much more meaning and symbolism in this short video than in any other. Our secret cameraman walks through the palace grounds at night and sees in front of him an ordinary such cabin. This is a dirty shared toilet for those who do not live in the palace, but work. There are drawings and inscriptions on the doors and walls. Among them, the most important thing.
That's how Putin's Russia works. He has a giant palace, the dream of a dictator maddened by theft and permissiveness. And it is built by ordinary people, ordinary hard workers, working for pennies, who are not even supposed to have a normal toilet. And they all perfectly understand about the lies about the apartment hotel, and about the fairy tales from the TV, and about Rotenberg. They have no doubt who they are building this palace for. And that Lech was absolutely right.
Vladimir Putin will have his 5th inauguration tomorrow, 25th year since he seized power. Let's congratulate him, show this video to everyone in general. We will send the link to friends, run it in our social networks. Pictures, videos, anything. The main thing is that as many people as possible see the new interiors of the palace. I'm sure Putin will appreciate it. After all, he has not appeared anywhere for decades without hundreds of security guards and FSO employees. Putin does not go to public places. He does not even use someone else's dishes. I'm sure you've heard about the suitcase, too. Putin is an absolute paranoid, trembling for his life and health, and obsessed with his own safety.
And we went to his bedroom. We were left alone with his dishes, with his bed. We were in his study, and even in his home chapel. We walked around his palace without any control. And together with the publication of the project, right now we are publishing new floor plans of this palace and a sports complex, with an elevator for the first person too.
And if, by the way, I'm not surprised at all, he will tear down this palace to bare walls again out of fear in search of bugs, poisons, or some other rubbish from his own arsenal alone, and build himself a new one. We will get there again, as Alexei Navalny did, as we did today, as journalists, activists, and anyone after us will do.
After all, if we give up now, it means that Putin has won, and the murder of Navalny will get away with it. We should not give Putin another 6 years of cloudless, unlimited power. We must resist. We must spoil and ruin Putin's plans as best we can. Someone with investigations, someone with honest news, someone with a bold and uncompromising struggle. Talk to friends and family, spread the investigation, glue leaflets, do not become cannon fodder in Putin's useless war. And don't be afraid to say very loudly that Lech was right.
Subscribe to this channel. The truth is being told here.